Hi again everyone, I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Raven. And here's her story. Hello Ollie, I made a donation in PayPal. I hope this helps. You've done a couple videos for me in the past, including the son husband needs the narcissist abuse and people who believe the narcissist's lives are doing you a favor. I need to give you some quick background information. I was married to a narcissist borderline, although I think now he was definitely a borderline son husband. We were married for 16 years. However, I should probably say we were not married that long, as I think he was mostly married to his mother the whole time. Anyways, in May of 2014, he staged a suicide attempt with a loaded shotgun to his mouth, which I eventually learned the gun had been on safe the whole time and would not have fired. He spent several days in a mental hospital and then came home with a moving van and his entire family to start taking out our furniture and other items he wanted. That's probably why he did it. He did it to gain his family's support in leaving. He had an itemized Excel spreadsheet of every item in our home. Don't tell me he wasn't planning ahead for weeks before it happened, and papers from the lawyer he had managed to see in this time. It was all premeditated, and apparently I was the only one who didn't know the marriage was about to end. I would later learn that he'd never really been suicidal. Told you. This was all a grand finale to scare the shit out of me, for him to divorce me and flaunt his secret girlfriend and still make him look like the victim and the injured party in all this. He also had a secret bank account and a credit card I knew nothing about, but that is for another video. I have a few questions about raising children free of the narcissist abuse or influence. And I value your opinion, since you were raised by narcissists and have risen above the abuse and are thriving and helping others. My children are 13 and 10 years old now. They were 9 and 6 when the divorce started. My daughter is old enough now that she is starting to form her own opinion about her dad's behavior and treatment of her. But my son is still young enough. He worships his dad and wants his dad to be a part of his life. When our daughter was born, she was obviously the golden child in the narc's eyes. She could do no wrong, and he loved to pretend he was Father of the Year when we went to church functions or out in public. He would make a big deal out of volunteering to change her diaper, but only when others were around to see him do it and praise him. When our son was born, everything changed. He began yelling and screaming at our daughter, even in public, to where others noticed and would come to me with concerns. I remember a time when we took our infant son to the law firm where my mother worked as a secretary. We brought our lunch to eat in the break room so she could visit with her new grandchild on her lunch break. Our daughter was almost 3 years old, but was acting out to the point the narc got mad and started screaming at her. Several of the lawyers can hear him and said they were frightened for our daughter with the way he was acting. I would make excuses for his temper all the time, but I didn't realize what a toll it was taking on our daughter. He controlled every aspect of the kid's life as well as mine. I lost almost 30 pounds during his health craze, where he would count calories and made the rest of us do it as well. I was anorexic down to 108 pounds, and my family was worried about my health. My hair was falling out as well, and I think I gave myself hypothyroid, as I still have to take thyroid hormones even now. Our kids were starving at the time, and I didn't realize how much until I recently saw pictures of them, and they were 5 and 2. They looked emaciated and sick in the pictures. Our daughter would hide food in her room. I didn't realize this was going on until the divorce happened and we moved out, and she was still storing and hiding food behind her bed in the new house. He imposed ridiculous rules on the kids as far as clothing and laundry was concerned. If they used a towel and he didn't think they had used the towel 3 nights in a row, he would scream at them to dig it out of the laundry basket and hang it back up. He would scream, "We have too much laundry in this house. Don't let me catch you using a towel once and putting it in the hamper again." Our daughter would cringe when he started yelling, and just recently she told me how when she was little and Narc was yelling, she would go upstairs to her room and hold her hands over her ears until it stopped. Once we were Christmas shopping and he began screaming at the children in the middle of Target. I had enough of his behavior at that point and yelled back, "Go somewhere. I don't care where you go, but leave." He got mad and stormed off to the electronics section. He probably wanted to be there anyways because he loved his video games, and he played all day long and was addicted to them. I think he loved them more than his family. My daughter said softly, "Thank you for sending him away." That was a wake-up call for me, but I didn't do anything until he staged the suicide attempt. The narc acted in private like he didn't want kids, like he didn't even want kids. I would have to beg him to take the kids to the neighborhood pool on nights I had to work late. If he was in public, he pretended to be Father of the Year. He even had a huge Facebook following where people thought he was the best dad ever. But I knew the truth. I had since learned not to trust anything someone puts on Facebook. It's a facade and a narc playground. People pretend to have the perfect life on social media. And I know it. And I know it because that's what Narc did. When the divorce started, he continued with his Father of the Year play acting. He demanded 50-50 custody and stated that he was not going to pay a bunch of child support. He began to put pressure on me to go to child custody mediation and sign over the kids 50% of the time. A 50-50 custody arrangement would not work in our situation given that I had no money to buy a place to live, so I had to move into my grandmother's empty farmhouse while his parents bought him a condo in the city. We lived too far apart to do 50-50. Also, I was afraid to let him be alone with the kids because he had been suicidal and treated for suicidal thoughts in the mental hospital. I let him know I was not trying to keep him away from his kids. I just wanted assurances that he was not a danger to himself or the children. The lawyer I hired turned out to be a dud. She was more interested in planning her own wedding and managing the Facebook page for her wedding instead of fighting for me and the kids. I managed to make it a requirement that I would not sign off on child custody until he was evaluated by a psychiatrist. Narc turned it around, and the day he was supposed to go to the psychiatrist, he sent me an email stating his friend had overheard our 9-year-old daughter make a suicidal statement. This brought everything to a halt, and I had to find a psychiatrist for my daughter to see. This, of course, was made up, and it was a stalling tactic, but if I had refused to take her to the psychiatrist, he was going to use it against me in court to say I didn't care about our child. I'm sorry this is so long, but I thought you needed some background information for the questions I'm going to ask. To make a long story short, we settled on 60-40 custody arrangement where the children went to his house almost every weekend from Friday until Monday when he dropped them off at school. This went on for several months with him pretending to be Father of the Year, taking them to the amusement park all weekend until they were dead tired on Monday morning, or taking them on trips everywhere. This ended when Narc moved his new girlfriend and her daughter into his condo. He started to complain to me how our son is not well behaved and that he is ruining the relationship with his stepfamily. Narc has never married the new girlfriend but refers to her as his wife in public and the girlfriend's daughter as his daughter. It is like he has replaced his children and his wife, but I'll get to that in a minute. A few months after the girlfriend moved in, Narc suddenly told the lawyers he didn't want a 60-40 custody arrangement any longer. He only wanted the kids every other weekend from Friday to Sunday night and only a few holidays here and there. No, this arrangement went on for a few weeks. Then he started having excuses why he couldn't pick them up, or no excuse at all. He barely sees his children now, maybe once a month. But sometimes he goes 2 months without seeing them. He takes lavish trips to Barbados, Scotland, England, France, Vegas, etc. He shows the children pictures of where he's been like he's bragging, and sometimes brings gifts back from the trip to make up for not seeing them. He has 24/7 access to his kids via Skype, FaceTime, text, or phone calls, as they both have iPhones, but he barely speaks to his children any longer. He goes weeks without calling them. I think our son's diagnosis with autism may have played a role in him not wanting to see his children any longer, but I don't know what goes on in that narc mind of his. It could be that his girlfriend doesn't want them around. I think he thought he was getting a babysitter in the deal, but from what I have heard, she pays no attention to the kids at all, and he is left to care for them 100% of the time when they are around. I think this is why he only picks them up on weekends, that he's going to his parents' house, so he has babysitting. He has not changed his ways, and he still yells at the children when his girlfriend is not around, according to what the kids tell me. And he still imposes his food restriction rules, laundry, and whatever other crazy thing he can come up with to control them when they stay at his place. He even tells them they are not to refer to their rooms at his new places as their rooms, but as guest bedroom 1 and guest bedroom 2. They don't even have rooms to call their own at his place, but they're not allowed to keep their toys out or other personal items, and are required to bring all their clothing in a suitcase, as he has no room in the closet for their clothes at his house. It is like he has tried to erase the fact he has children at all. So my question is, do narcissists eventually abandon their children and start new families? Sometimes. It doesn't make sense to me how hard he fought for custody and then just gave up. The only thing I can figure is that while the divorce was going on, he had to keep up the facade that he was a victim or a hero of the story. The long-suffering dad who just wanted a relationship with his kids, but his crazy ex is making him suffer. As far as I know, he could be telling his relatives and friends lies now that I am keeping the kids from him. I thought that children were an extension of the narc, and so they want to have children around to groom and make them like themselves to get supply. I wonder if the children have gotten old enough that he no longer gets supply from them. Yeah, they could just be a hassle in his gaming. It could also be that his new girlfriend doesn't want the kids around, especially our son. He has autism and some behavioral problems of his own that she's pointed out. A funny story about the behavior problems is that the narc claims our son caught the attention of the Secret Service when he took the kids to Washington, D.C. on a trip to the Smithsonian. In one of the museums, he said our son was so loud that the Secret Service came over and threatened him. That was a media story. So unless your son was in the news, he ripped that right out of the headlines. I don't buy that crap for a minute. What? Was Obama visiting the Smithsonian that day? I don't think so. It was one of the narc's ridiculous, stupid stories. Because of this, he told our son that he won't take him to Disney World. The next question I have is that I know he's not a good influence on the children, but since they are not living with him any longer, I don't think he would have such a huge impact on them. Why? It's their dad. It's always going to be their dad. See, that statement concerns me from you. That you think that they can just walk away from their dad and it's not going to have any type of adverse effect. This just upsets me. The efforts I have made for my own kid. The custody order states he's supposed to take the kids every other weekend. Should I try to enforce the custody order and make him take the children when he is supposed to? No. But you should call him and why aren't you? You should make it clear and document every time he doesn't. You can't force him. I wouldn't force the kids on him if you don't want them, because that's detrimental too. But you got to understand, it's going to Either way, it puts your children in a bad position. I know this will put a kink in his weekend trips to the beach and other places, but he is ruining the relationship with his kids. I wouldn't make such a big deal about it, but our daughter cried at Halloween saying, "I only have one parent that loves me." She was upset about her dad not picking them up and spending time with them. Since she takes the brunt of his verbal abuse, I don't know why she still wants to have any relationship with him. Except she is still technically a child and wants the attention of her father. Our son cried after his surgery when Narc showed up for surgery, but as soon as our son was in the recovery area, he told him, "Okay, I'll let your mother take care of you from here. I have to get back to work." Our son cried saying, "Oh, Dad, do you have to go?" I could have strangled the Narc with my bare hands at that point, abandoning his son after surgery. But there again, my son wanted his dad in his life. It's why I'm conflicted about what to do. I know the time they spend with the Narc could be detrimental to their development, but at the same time, I don't want my children growing up thinking their father abandoned them or doesn't love them. I could try to enforce the order and make him spend time with the kids or threaten him to take him back to court for more child support. Or I could just let sleeping dogs lie. Personally, I don't think spending any time with him is good for them. But at the same time, don't children need a father? They do, but they don't need one that doesn't want to be around. I have listened to your videos when you talk about your daughter, and I see my ex-husband is pissing away the time you could spend with his children. Time I know you would have bent over backwards to have with your daughter. How do I minimize the impact he is going to have on the kids if he's going to be in their lives? And how do I teach them about narcissistic abuse? At some point, they will need to know what their dad is and if they want to go no contact as adults. I feel like I need to arm them with information, but at the same time I can't alienate them from their father. While there's still a chance he could try to be in their lives and be a parent on some level. I don't want the children growing up having issues because of their father. I think a lot of the damage was done to them living with him for so long, but now that they are living with me 90% of the time, they're having a chance to heal. A fine line that I have to walk to figure out how much of their father they can handle and still grow up to be healthy-minded adults. Again, thank you for reading my story, and I look forward to whatever advice you can give me, Raven. You know, the ones, especially when little girls are involved, it just angers me. Children need their dad, daughters need their dad, but you can't force him to be a father. You can't. He either wants it or he doesn't. And you would be right to drag him back to court for more child support, but what is that going to do? Then he's going to be making more. You already know what he's capable of. He's going to put your kids through hell. He's going to take it out on them. So you need to be cautious and hopeful that maybe, but he's not. He cares about video games. He's one of these video gamers. I'm not a gamer. I'm not, but I've seen this video game obsession where video games are more important than children. Seeing these gamers kill their own children because they disturbed them during the game. Kill a pet because they disturbed them during the game. If I wish my daughter would call out to me. You can't force it. You can't. The only thing you could do is be a positive influence in their life and be able to explain these things to them when the time is right, when they're old enough, when they ask the question. Don't try to put anything in their head until they ask. And they will ask, and you'll know when the time is right. But as far as forcing him to be a father, besides you having a one-on-one conversation with him and possibly even her, his new, about what are you doing? These are your children. These are your flesh and blood, but don't expect it to go anywhere. So you can't force the narcissist to be a father. You just can't. So thank you for your contribution and your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and expanding, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you, all of this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Please also like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance.